Welcome to Queer News Tonight, the world's first and only LGBTQ+ daily evening news. It's time to queer up the news. It's 8 p.m. Monday, April 18th, 2022, and we are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we're going to tell this evening on Queer News Tonight.
This is the world's first live daily LGBTQ evening news show, literally out of the closet and into the headlines on Queer News Tonight with Al Ferguson.
Thank you for joining Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first and only unedited live LGBTQ+ evening news show. Whatever happens, you will see it. Queer News Tonight is supported by viewers like you. We are part of the partnership between Happening Out Television Network and Hotspots Magazine. Hotspots is celebrating 36 years of the LGBTQ+ experience. We bring you the best of LGBTQ+ news, entertainment, and support of our community.
I'm your anchor at Queer News Tonight, Dr. Tai Houser. Let's welcome anchor Dino Mosquera. He joined the Miami Gay and Lesbian Film Festival in the late 90s and now serves on the Outshine Film Festival's board of directors. He's now the screening committee chair, selecting films for one of America's most important LGBTQ+ film festivals. Welcome, Dino.
Thank you, Ty. Let's welcome Cindy Brown. She's an icon in the LGBTQ+ community. She was an early organizer of Miami AIDS Walk, the White Party for Care Source, and other major events. She has served as the executive director of Miami-Dade Gay and Lesbian Chamber Foundation and LGBTQ Visitor Center. She is the founding executive director of Miami Beach Pride and currently serves as the program manager for Jewish Community Services LGBTQ Landa Living Program for LGBTQ seniors. Good evening, Cindy.
Good evening, everyone. And if you are an LGBT senior and you are in South Florida, on Thursday, April 21st, we're doing an LGBT Day at the Murakami Museum and Japanese Garden. So you can meet us there around 11 a.m. We are having a bus come up from Miami, so, let's see if we can have you join us there. Now, let's welcome Maxx Fenning from Prism. At just 17, Maxx founded this amazing nonprofit organization that works to expand access to LGBTQ+ inclusive education and sexual health resources for LGBTQ+ youth in South Florida. Now at 19, Maxx is a senior at the University of Florida and serves as Prism's president. Good evening, Maxx.
Thank you. And I also wanted to let you all know that our anniversary event is coming up for Prism. Very, very exciting. Our second ever anniversary. So it's going to be April 30th, 7 to 10 at the Hotspots Art Gallery. Highly, highly recommend you check it out. But anyways, my favorite, let's welcome anchor Dale Stine. He received a master's degree from the world-famous Juilliard School. He is also a well-known photographer and is famous for his photographs of internationally acclaimed DJs, drag personas, politicos, and other entertainers, including our very own Faye What? He is presently the Director of Music Ministry at Unity on the Bay and moderator of South Florida's largest LGBTQ+ Facebook group, Miami Gay List, which is now also on Instagram as @GayListOfficial. Dale is currently Vice Chair of Miami Beach's Human Rights Committee. Good evening, Dale.
Why, thank you so much, Max. I am honored. We are the reporters for Queer News Tonight, and this evening we begin with the queer headlines. The LGBTQ+ community in South Florida and across America is diverse. Our community across the world is vast, and here are the bullet points of the queer news for today, Monday, April 18th.
We'll begin tonight by queering up politics. LGBTQ representative burns down Missouri House on why Gayborhoods are still needed. Representative Ian Mackey and Representative Chuck Basie had a heated exchange on the House floor over a bill that would block transgender athletes for competing in sports. Opponents of the bill argue that the bill is highly discriminatory since Missouri law already states that transgender high school students must already be undergoing hormone replacement therapy in order to compete in sports. In the past decade, only 2 transgender girls have been approved to compete in high school sports in the state. Watch this.
Gentlemen, I am going to try to keep this civil. I have so enjoyed working with you on so many issues in this building, and you know how I feel about this.
And you probably know how I feel
just
about
hold on a
this.
minute. Just hold on a minute.
Yeah.
This is the only issue that I take personally that we discuss. This is it. And I've made it clear that we can agree to disagree and still love each other and still move forward. Unless, and I'm not the first person to say this, this came from James Baldwin, unless the root of our disagreement is in my right to exist. And that's what you're doing with this legislation. We can't move past that. We cannot agree to disagree on that. Do you remember your remarks on the floor last year when you brought this up?
You'd have to give me a specific. I mean, I made a lot of remarks last year.
So I recall a story you told about your brother.
Okay.
And I remember you said that your brother called, or that your mother called you, I believe, to tell you that your brother had some news that he was afraid to tell you.
Okay.
And your brother wanted to tell you that he was gay, didn't he?
He was expressing that to the family, and he thought that that we would hold that against him and not let my children be around him.
Why do you think he thought that?
I don't know. It never would have happened. I'll tell you that. My kids at that point in their life adored my brother.
Can I tell you, if I were your brother, I would have been afraid to tell you too.
Well, I'm sorry.
I would have been afraid to tell you too because of stuff like this. Because this is what you're focused on. This is the legislation you want to put forward. This is what consumes your time. I would have been afraid to tell you too. I was afraid of people like you growing up, and I grew up in Hickory County, Missouri. I grew up in a school district that would vote tomorrow to put this in place. And for 18 years, I walked around with nice people like you who took me to ball games, who told me how smart I was, and who went to the ballot and voted for crap like this. And I couldn't wait to get out. I couldn't wait to move to a part of our state that would reject this stuff in a minute. I couldn't wait. And thank God I made it. Thank God I made it out, and I think every day of the kids who are still there, who haven't made it out, who haven't escaped from this kind of bigotry. Gentlemen, I'm not afraid of you anymore because you're gonna lose. You may win this today, but you're going to lose. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Further discussion on House Amendment 2.
Wow.
Right?
That was powerful. And you know,
Very powerful.
it's moments like these when you see footage like this, or of Chevron Jones, who spoke
Right.
when and that final vote of the Don't Say Gay bill. I can't help but think about how ridiculous it is that LGBT politicians and LGBT people in general need to come onto a pulpit and need to discuss their trauma and need to come on there and open themselves up and resurface and cut deep all of those old wounds that they've spent decades healing to fight for our basic rights. They should not need to do that.
They shouldn't need to do that, but they do. And then their colleagues who say, oh yeah, he's a good guy, their colleagues still vote against it. Right. And it's so disheartening. You know, we worked so hard to get where we are now. Believe me, those of us who are
Of an age?
up there, who knew we were going to have to fight these same battles over again? We worked really hard to protect young people like you, and now all the work that we've done is being ripped apart, piece by piece by piece.
This is the typical, remember when Dick Cheney and all his, anti-gay and all that, I love my daughter until their daughter came out. and then, you know, the daughter is a lesbian, wanting to get married, you know, and then finally, I mean, after, you know, being in that toxic government and fighting us all along, only until it hit him and his household and his family is when he became, you know, more understanding,
More
and then
accepting,
changed
yeah.
his, you know, appreciation for gay families, because his daughter now is out lesbian and wanted to marry her partner.
Right.
God bless her, but, you know, only that is what forced him to change his mind. Politicians that are basically actively fighting against us until it hit them.
Right.
It's such a commonplace issue among so many, but I guess, you know, I mean, not to play devil's advocate. I mean, it does, I mean, one understands it if you're really looking at how people come to accept many different situations, not just LGBTQ+.
Right.
But it's just unfortunate when politicians are fighting against us and to erase us. That's a different thing than not just accepting.
And for me, this all comes from the idea that the personal is political. And it, you know, it comes to state houses, it comes to the national attention as a political issue because politicians, because political organizations are doing things to dehumanize the personal and our personal experience.
Well, we're keeping the pressure on.
But
Which-
that's why it's
what we
important
gotta
that
do.
the politicians come out. You know, kudos to that guy that stood up and told him the way it is from our point of view. If he didn't come out, he'd never do this, you know? How do you work for your community? You know, kudos to Trev Jones and, you know, people in our state that are doing the same thing. You know, it takes cojones to do this for real. So it's, you know, in another time that he could have just, you know, lost his career, but now he's able to stand up and fight for because it affects you, you know? If you don't do it, nobody's gonna do it for you.
It's not just the politicians, it's teachers, lawyers, it's everybody.
And this is the exact reason that, like, we say, and I know it's like very cliche, but representation matters, right?
Absolutely.
And that doesn't just mean in media, that doesn't just mean in politics, that means like having queer people in your life, having people of color in your life, and that doesn't mean having them as adjacent, you know, people that are adjacent. Or
Oh, well, I
acquaintances.
have a gay friend.
Right. Well, have you talked to your gay friend about this? And do they say it?
What do they think about this?
And when
Oh, well,
when they
I
say
don't
what they think about it, are you the one who brought up that conversation, was super dominant in that conversation, or did you actually let them talk?
Right.
And that was actually the question, right? The question was, well, do you know why your brother was afraid?
right.
And he couldn't
Exactly.
answer, well, if you would take
That's
the
an
time and
important
ask
question.
him,
Right.
then you would better understand why he
Exactly
was
right.
afraid, and not come up with laws like this.
Exactly right.
Well, let's move on to queering up business. Conservatives suggest that Americans are turning their backs on Disney over LGBTQ embrace. A recent poll performed by the conservative PAC known as Convention of States Action shows that conservatives are very unhappy with Disney deciding to say gay. The poll shows that 68.2% of conservative voters are less likely to do business with Disney. That survey also shows that 69% of those conservatives polled will seek out family-friendly alternatives to Disney.
Well, it's coming from a conservative PAC, so that says enough right there.
Right, and the question that was asked, I believe, was something to the effect of, do you think Disney should
Promote
sexual content to children? Of course
Anybody.
they're going to say no. I would say no to that.
Right.
It's inappropriate.
Right.
Right. And that's a matter of language and just giving language, but
And they do it on purpose.
no, of course they do. But I think what's you know, I hope that this is the beginning of the end of rainbow capitalism. It's what I'm hoping for
Right,
here.
exactly.
Because
Keep dreaming.
Because we are seeing, you know, and the whole premise of rainbow capitalism is that we have buying power.
Right.
You know, we have economic impact, like real economic impact that wants business, you know, that makes businesses want to, at least at a bare minimum, plaster rainbow things on their products during Pride Month. But now it's a matter of voting. We have the economic power to be able to actually vote with our dollar and not just buy buy rainbow things, but buy rainbow things from companies who are actually supporting that rainbow.
Exactly.
And because there is such a breadth of varying degrees of LGBT acceptance, we're able to do that now. And I hope that that translates into not just a branding thing, but actually these companies actually putting that into action in a way that actually is going to support the people that have that economic impact.
And Disney's come up against this in the past. The first Saturday in June is the unofficial gay days at Disney.
Right.
And Disney, when it, 20 years ago, they said, this is not a Disney organized event, but we welcome them. And they, people would wear red shirts. And Disney, if there was somebody straight who happened to be there with a red shirt and was freaking out, they would give them another shirt. They would also allow people to come back another day if they didn't like it. So, Disney was very supportive of what we were doing, but also they listened to the other side and were willing to compromise. But the conservatives don't want to compromise. It's their way or the highway.
I want to see numbers.
And it's ridiculous.
Disney show me numbers, have their admission decreased since this poll.
I don't think it's going to matter. They're packed. They have to stop admitting people.
No, they're not asking people. I'm not asking to ask people, are you conservative or liberal or, progressive when they come in. Are their numbers coming down in their parks, in their merchandise? That's the real data I want to see, not these
just
polls
because of what
from,
people believe.
Not because of these polls that Fox News or whoever just promotes. Yeah, what do they call the $1 million march or no the moms
of liberty.
That's all propaganda.
All 10 of them.
Right. That's propaganda.
The thing is do you want to do business with Disney? And they're saying no, we don't want to do business with them. I would challenge those 68% of people to. Identify Disney subsidiaries that you're going to stop doing business.
That's right.
They don't even know.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know.
Okay, let's square up entertainment. Fox Corporation LGBTQ staff group condemns Fox News Hateful TV. Queer News Tonight previously reported on the HRC's decision to remove Fox from the list of top employers under Corporate Equality Index over coverage of Florida's Don't Say Gay bill. An internal network and resource group for the company has also denounced the news branch's action, posting in the company-wide Slack channel on April 5th. The message reads, quote, Fox Pride denounces statement made regarding sexual orientation and gender identity on Fox News in the past week, while the internal support and resources Fox Corporation offers to LGBTQ+ employees are amazing and supportive, the public-facing messaging and rhetoric is the opposite. We find it disheartening and a step backwards in the acceptance of the LGBTQ+ community, end of quote.
So I want to ask the question, do you think the statement included the stuff about Fox News being a good support, about the Fox Corporation providing good support? Was that a step back?
You mean the statement itself in the context?
Did that take away from the statement's impact?
I don't think so. And I do think that there are a lot of companies. My niece, who's a lesbian, used to work for Chick-fil-A. And they were told that store was totally supportive of her and other gay employees. The company just gives money out to the wrong people.
Right.
But as an employer, they support
internally they're good to the LGBTQ
internally they're good to their staff, but externally they don't put their money where their mouth is.
It has to be incredibly frustrating to be working for a company that you actually maybe like working for, but I don't know if I could even do that. I mean, I don't know if I've never worked in the corporate world, so I'm I'm a weird egg, but I can't even imagine that I could work for a company that did not espouse and share beliefs that gel with mine. Right. I don't think I could do that.
I think because yes, there is a lot of people that work under those conditions. We have to work and we have to make a living, right? But it's a different thing when you work for Fox Corporation and Fox News. They are spreading a message of intolerance against our community. It's not just a passive you know, discrimination. They're actively.
It's aggressive.
Yes,
Right,
aggressive.
yeah. And
so
I
they're
think
putting
that-
it out there.
And it's great that the